first guest on 7 Minutes is Markeia Robinson. She's the president and CEO of MK International, a life coaching business, and she has a great story about her journey, where she started, where she's been, and where she is now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Markeia Robinson with Chris Wright and Beverly Swim. 7 Minutes. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the moment you've been waiting for. This is the show called 7 Minutes, which I've been telling you about for weeks. I'm really excited. It's the who's who in the capital region. We're going to be interviewing successful people, entrepreneurs, social influencers, prominent role models, just anybody who you've heard or liked on social media and you thought, I'd really like to know more about them. But they're going to tell you in their own words what they're all about. And I'm very excited. And if you're the kind of person who you've been wondering, how can I become more successful? How can I reach my goals? How can I write my own books and things like that? You're going to get a lot of tips from here. So I'm glad you're here and thank you for attending this great show. Our first guest, our actual first guest is Markeia Robinson. So I tell you how I met Markeia. I was at a very good friend's birthday party. It was a kid's party, right?
Yep.
and you know what? You know, when you see new faces, you go, how you doing? How you doing? You meet. And I would just, she started telling me her story, and the story just got more impressive and more impressive. And I was like, you did what? And you wrote a book? You know, you want to do this? And you had all these great dreams and goals. And I was just like, you're just a powerhouse. So I've always thought you were really interesting. And then when you told me about the men's conference called Making of a Man, and I attended the very first one, it was amazing. So
yes.
Why don't, before we get deep into that, tell us a little bit about, you know, what you're doing. You're a life coach as well.
Yes.
And you do something else. Tell us about what you do.
All right. So I am a certified life coach. I have my own business, MK Robinson International, and we are a coaching and consulting firm. And we really specialize in helping individuals build blueprints to get them from where they are to where they desire to be. A little bit about my background, Chris. You know, I come from very humble beginnings until the age of 30, right? Understanding that my education didn't extend beyond the ninth grade. And so when I went back to school at the age of 30, I got my GED. And then in 7 years, I successfully completed the 3 college degrees. And what I have found is that, and I started my PhD. And so I had a lot of conversations with people that were like, how did you do that? You know, like, how did you go from having just a ninth grade education and then in a matter of 7 years, you completed 3 degrees. One of them is a master's degree and you started your PhD. What exactly was that like? And so I found myself really reflecting and thinking about what were some of the tools and strategies that I utilized to help me get from where I currently was to where I desired to be. And I basically put that in a framework and started my own consulting firm.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and that's grown. So you touched on this. You wrote a book called The Non-Traditional Route, GED to PhD. And
yes,
does this talk about your journey?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I, again, realizing that coming from lived experiences that are not unique to me, I understood that sometimes we have these experiences that have the potential to really derail us and knock us off course. And what I have found is that for me, I don't think we go through those experiences just for us, right? I believe that we navigate these experiences. I think there's a saying that says, you know, you've been assigned a mountain to show that it can be moved. We don't navigate these things for us. We navigate these things because our message, or let me say our mess, can be a message to someone else. You know, I've overcome this and you can do it too. I never saw myself writing a book ever. I want you to I like to be very clear about that. Being someone that had a ninth grade education, being an author, someone with a published book is something that my mind could never even fathom. But I remember praying one day and I asked God, you know, like, why did I have to have all of these lived experiences that I've had? I'm not the only one that's ever been a teenage mom. I'm not the only one that's ever dropped out of high school. I am not the only person that has ever lost someone very, very close to me that I love that really changed the trajectory of my life. I'm not the only person that's ever been in an abusive relationship. I am not the only person that has navigated these things. And so when I realized that, and God was very clear, all of this mess, right, that you define as a mess, because it's really not. It's really designed to be someone else's message. And so you're going to write a book about that. And it was this ongoing battle between me and God. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. You know, that whole thing. But finally, I realized that the purpose for my book was much bigger than any fear that I could have possibly had. And again, I never saw myself owning my own business. But as a result of me publishing that book and having a lot of people reach out to me, I booked a lot of speaking engagements, prisons, colleges, universities, juvenile detention center. It was very fulfilling for me to be able to actually see, like, wow, I am able to make impact by being very transparent and very vulnerable about the things that I have been through in life. I don't have to be ashamed of this. I don't have to hide this. I can be vulnerable because in this vulnerability, this is going to help someone else. And so that's how that entire process came to be.
That's Beverly.
That's actually amazing. I was thinking, God says he's not going to give us more than we can take. So you must be a tremendously strong person, and I'm just so impressed and proud of you and the way that you've allowed God to use you for the people around you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Beverly.
I just always been impressed. So that's the book, Non-Traditional Route. It's on Amazon. You can get it.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, there you go. So what was the motivation? What you said 30 years old, you just all of a sudden, what motivated you to go to take this next step?
I am a single parent of 2 daughters. Mm-hmm. My daughters are now 26 and 19. At the time, they were 7 and 14. And I just really started to reflect what I call taking personal inventory and taking stock of my life. And not only that, really taking a deep look into what kind of role model was I being for my daughters? What kind of example was I setting? Unfortunately, in a lot of inner cities, in communities where I come from, there's not a lot of access to positive role models, the influence that is necessary to change your social status at all, to make you or influence you or encourage you to see things outside of your current circumstance. I realized that it was very important for me to be that role model for my daughters. I understood that I needed them to know, not wanted. I needed them to know that in this life, literally the only limits that would exist is the ones that they would place upon themselves. And I realized I could tell them that until I'm blue in the face, right? Because as parents, that's what we do. We talk and we teach. But I realized that it had additional value for them to be able to witness it. My children actually sat back and they have witnessed the grind. They have witnessed the work, and they are able to identify that it's worth it, right? Like nothing comes easy. Nothing is going to happen with you sitting inside of your comfort zone. That's not where extraordinary things happen. And I feel like they got to witness that firsthand. And for me, that is what was most important. As I began to grow and develop and navigate my professional career, then it became more about my community and how can I impact my community on a larger scale. And that's how the Makings of a Man came to be.
Great segue, because I wanted to go there next. So, Making of a Man, that was that like molded out of dust? Did you wake up at 3:00 one morning in the middle of the night and just saying, I need to do this? Tell us about that.
So what happened was, again, I want you to just think about it, Chris. And I got my GED in 2010, right? So I was finishing up my 3rd degree around 2017, 2018, gearing up to start my PhD. In that transition, I was able to meet a lot of amazing people that were doing a lot of amazing things that I never thought was possible coming from my ecosystem, right? And in that, I had the privilege of attending a lot of conferences, seminars, workshops, brunches. I had access to mentors, all of these things that were extremely instrumental in me being able to change the trajectory of my life. So when I was praying one day and I was sitting there being very reflective, I started to think about like, okay, there's no shortage of these opportunities for women. I know that because I've participated in a lot of them. But where's the equal access for our men, particularly our Black and brown men?
Right.
And I did some research, and, you find like church groups and, certain isolated things that are taking place. And I was like, wow, it's not on a large scale, right? As easy as it is for us to find these things for women. So I prayed about it a little bit, and this is going to be very explicit, but I like to be honest. And I remember I was in the bathroom one day, and I'm sitting there because that's where I get all my best thoughts at. And I'm sitting there and I'm just really thinking about it. And it dropped in my spirit, the makings of a man. And I was like, what is that? And it was like a conference just for men. And the way that my relationship with God, Chris, I talk to God the same way I talk to you. Right. Very open conversation. Okay. I'm like, what is that? This is something for you to do. And so my feedback was, I'm not a man. At that point, I had been single for a decade. So I didn't have a spouse or a significant other. I didn't raise sons. I had 2 daughters. And it didn't make sense to me. That assignment didn't make sense to me. So I sat with it for a little bit and I was like, I'm not doing this. Right. And I was a part of a Bible study group at that time. And I remember the following week, I kind of just felt led to share this idea that had been placed in my spirit with the people at Bible study. And immediately it was like, oh my God, that would be awesome. And there were men, Black men, right, in the prayer group. And they just started pouring out about how much this was needed in our community and how they would love to be a part of something like this and all of these things. And at that very moment, I said, okay, this is something that I'm going to do. Now, I want to be very clear. I had no team. I had no budget. I had nothing but the idea that God placed in my spirit. And I literally took that concept and created the makings of a man. And this year we celebrated our 2nd year and it was phenomenal. And it's just going to continue to grow. And for the 3rd year, I have something that I am super excited. So Chris, get ready for this. Okay.
I can't wait.
And nobody knows this. So this is going to be aired on your show. So you cannot cut this part out.
Spoiler
okay?
alert.
Okay.
Do not? You said do not cut it out?
No, do not cut this out. Okay?
I will not. Okay.
This is the first time this is coming out.
Okay.
Because you have been a part of the conference for the last 2 years. The first year you were in attendance. The second year you were a speaker. I like giveaways. I love giveaways. Okay. It's like one of my favorite parts of the conference. So usually I give away things, right? Haircuts, flat screen TVs, things. And as I started to reflect, I said, our men don't need more things, right? Like they don't need more things. What can I give away that will add value to our men that will be in attendance? Okay. Yeah. So again, prayerful, dropped in my spirit. I'm not sure if you know, but any man, doesn't matter what color you are, that has a felony on their record, you get released from prison. There's this expectation that you come home, you get your life together, boom, everything, right? Not really taking into account all of the nuances that go into that. If a man comes home and they want to continue their education, whether it's a 2-year, 4-year degree, a certification, a trade, if they don't have the funds to pay for that, it's borderline impossible. Okay. Right. So starting in 2023, what we will be doing at the Makings of a Man is I will be giving away a scholarship to a Black or brown man that has a felony on their record that wishes to continue their education, whether that be a certification, a trade, a 2 or a 4-year school. And it will not be a small grant by any means. Do you understand what I am saying? We are 100%. Changing lives over here. That's what we are doing. We change lives. And so I am really, really, really looking forward to this because it's just going to grow and it's just going to get bigger and better. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm so looking forward to that.
That's amazing.
Yes. 2023. Giving away scholarships. Yes.
What's that's awesome is that I have been one of the charities that I give to is the Innocence Project. All right?
Okay.
An Innocent Project that's money donated to find wrongfully incarcerated men. That was before the first Making of a Man. So when I went to your Making of a Man conference, and that gentleman was up there talking about incarcerated Black and brown men and wrongfully incarcerated men, and then their life after, I was like, how did he know? That was one. And then also, right, being a father of adult children who I wasn't always in their lives and didn't get to raise them like, I should have, right? And then the next conference was about fatherhood. And I was like, oh my God. So one conference after another has been so impactful. And so I cannot wait. And you didn't even tell us about the topic of the next Making of a Man. Have you figured that out yet?
Interestingly enough, Chris, the feedback for fatherhood was so grand that I actually thought about replicating fatherhood again because it's so nuanced and I feel like it's not given enough light, that particularly for our men. And the feedback that I have received is that we wish we had more time. Right. We wish we had more time. The conference was 4 hours. And the feedback that I got, we wish we had more time.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So I have not 100% decided, but I will say that my mind is actually thinking about doing something either identical or something really closely related to fatherhood once again, because of the feedback that I received from this year.
I remember you asked me, you said, you asked a few people, what's your input on next year and what do you think we should focus on? And my response was family. And yeah. I remember that. But so even if you stay in that same, circle of, about family, fatherhood, yes. whatever, I just think
yes.
it's important. So, yes. Before we wrap up, what's next for Markeia?
So what is next for me is I am currently in the process of connecting with someone to create. It's not really a branch off of MK Robinson International. It really is going to be a separate entity, if we will. So in 2023, I will be creating, well, it's already created actually, but I will be highlighting, showcasing to the world Key Solutions Equity Firm. And what that is going to do is that is going to be a recruiting firm that focuses solely on attracting, placing, and hopefully retaining high-profile senior executives from marginalized populations of individuals in top organizations. And me being a DEI practitioner for the last almost 6 years, I've done a lot of work with a lot of top organizations, a lot of senior executives, boards. And what I have found, Chris, is that most senior executive teams are 100% white.
Okay.
And when I engage in very authentic dialogue with these senior executives about the demographic makeup of their senior executive team, there's been a consensus over the year of we would love to diversify, right, but we can't find the people. So we're going to be the solution to that problem.
Yeah. I think Wells Fargo said that, didn't they? They said that we would love to diversify, but we just can't seem to find the people.
It's a common consensus. And that's what I like. So it's not, and I always like to be very clear when I'm working with organizations, executives, this is name or guilt, right? Like you're not the only one. This is literally a common, it's common. It doesn't matter whether it's for profit, it really does not matter. School districts, colleges, universities, it does not matter. Literally, it's the same. We would love to, but we just cannot find the people. My initial question is always, where exactly are you looking? But that's a whole nother conversation. So, instead of going around the merry-go-round, I said, why not? Because we're all about making impact, right? And creating that equitable access to opportunity, not equal access, equitable access to opportunity. So being that we've identified this as a problem, let's be the solution.
I'm going to ask you a question. This is kind of a personal thing for you. Why don't you add PhD to your name or Dr. Robinson to your name? Is that something tell me about that?
I did not finish my PhD. So while I was when I was in my doctorate program, and I actually made a video about this and put it on my Facebook.
Okay.
And I thank you for bringing this up because this is something that I like to be very clear with people. When I began my academic journey, I was still in the process of trying to identify who I was, okay, what was I supposed to be doing, what kind of impact was I supposed to be making, and ultimately, where was I going? Mm-hmm. I was very easily influenced, I'll say, at that time, because I wasn't really sure about what direction I was supposed to be going in. Mm-hmm. The only direction that I was 100% clear about was my education. Gotcha. So as I started to navigate my journey and occupy different spaces, mm-hmm, I thought that the only way for me to fit in or for my existence to somehow matter was to keep adding letters behind my name. If I get my doctorate, right, my existence matters. Can't nobody tell me nothing at that point. Right. It's the highest level. What are you going to say? Mm-hmm. And I realized that I was looking at life completely wrong. And I had misaligned my priorities. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was passing away and she was in the hospital. And I had homework to do for my PhD, my doctorate. And I was very, very focused. And I remember this like it was just, I'll never forget it. And I was like, all right, Grandma, how are you feeling? And she was like, oh, I'm all right, baby. And I was like, all right, I'm going to come see you. All right. She was like, yeah. I had so much homework to do that I didn't go. Oh. She passed away the next day. Hmm. I never finished my PhD program. And me trying to figure out, was that something I was going to do? Was not. My PhD program was almost $70,000. I started to reflect on what was my motivation behind wanting that additional piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And I realized that my motivation was coming from all of the wrong places. Sometimes in life, we do things because we're looking for external validation. Mm-hmm. We are looking for other people to tell us that our existence is worth it. That is so fundamentally flawed that it's not even funny. And I realized that, and I was happy that I was able to realize that because A, it saved me almost $70,000. Right. And B, it gave me a level of freedom, gotcha, of understanding that I have nothing to prove to anyone. Nope. And the only thing that I have to do is show up every day and continue to try to be the very best version of myself. As long as I'm committed to that, other people's confirmation, validation, their thoughts, their opinions, it does not matter. So, will one day I go back and get my PhD and finish it? Maybe. Am I banking on it? No, not really. Not really. Well,
I'm glad that is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, as long as we are validated in God's eyes, nothing else matters.
That's it.
Well, thank you for sharing your vision and your passion with us. Seriously, it's been wonderful. Any plans for the holidays?
I don't have any plans for the holidays, and I'm actually looking forward to that. Nice and quiet.
All right. Well, with that mic drop, I just wanted to say, the non-traditional route from, GED to PhD. Would you like to plug your business or tell us about how people can reach you or anything like that?
So my website is MK Robinson International. My social media handles is just Markeia Robinson. If you want to reach out to me, I'm pretty easy to reach. And like I said, my business, MK Robinson International, we do coaching and consulting. So if you feel like you are someone that has identified a desired outcome, but you're just not really sure how to get there, you might want to reach out to me because I'm pretty sure I can get you to where you want to be.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, we spent some time with Markeia Robinson. Markeia, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
This show's going to be awesome. If we could get more of this, that was amazing, an amazing first show. So thank you so much. And we wish you well. And I'll see you in Making of a Man, okay?
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
All right. You have a good one. You can sign off.
Bye-bye.
Bye.